Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Lesson 6. In this lesson, we'll look at power chords, which are an important part of rock, punk, and metal guitar playing. I'll be using an electric guitar for this lesson. If you have one, it's a good idea to plug it into your Mac so you can use some of the built-in amp sounds for this lesson. An acoustic guitar will work fine too, you just won't have the heavy distorted guitar sound that is typical of power chords. Before we get started, check your guitar's tuning with the tuner built into GarageBand. A power chord is a two-note chord that's usually played on the lower strings. Rock, metal, and punk guitarists use power chords because they create a low, powerful, chunky sound like this. The lowest power chord you can play on the guitar is the open E power chord. All you have to do is play the low E string open and fret the A string at the second fret with your second finger. The other four strings aren't involved at all. The proper name for the E power chord is E5, and the only tricky thing about playing the E5 chord is making sure you don't play the other four strings when you play the lowest two strings. The best way to keep these other strings from making noise while you're playing the chord is to lay your first finger across these four strings at the first fret. Not fretting these strings, just muting or dampening them like this so they don't ring out. Another power chord that's almost exactly like the E5 is the open A5. This chord uses the open A string and the D string fretted at the second fret. You have to be careful not to hit the low E string with your pick when you play the A5 chord. A lot of guitarists keep the low E string from sounding by reaching their thumb over the top of the neck to mute the string. That way, if you accidentally pick the low E string, it won't sound. You can also mute out the unplayed strings with your index finger like you did for the E5 chord. Let's play a chord progression to practice the open E5 and A5 chords we've just learned. It goes like this: 2 measures of E5, 1 measure of A5, and 1 measure of E5 again. For the strumming pattern, we'll use steady downstroke eighth notes like this. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, again, E, E, A, E. This all downstroke strumming pattern is a very popular technique to use with power chords. When you practice, focus on keeping your timing consistent. Start off slow by using the speed slider and gradually increase the tempo as you get better. Keeping steady time with this style of playing is one of the most important parts of sounding good. So far we've learned chords that are in the open position. They're called open chords because they have at least one open string in the chord. Now let's learn how to move up the neck with power chords without using open strings. First, let's take a look at the open E5 chord again. The two notes of this chord are the root, which is on the low E string, and the fifth, which is on the A string. Keep in mind that the chord gets its name from its lowest note, or root, E. Now, if we move both notes of the chord up one fret, to the first fret of the sixth string, and the third fret of the fifth string, we're moving, or transposing, the E5 chord to another key, or chord name, in this case, F5. Play the F5 chord by fretting the 6th string at the 1st fret with your 1st finger. and the 5th string at the 3rd fret with your 3rd finger. A power chord like this is movable to any place on the fretboard. So simply by moving the entire chord shape up the neck to different frets, you can play a bunch of different power chords like this. Remember that power chords get their names from the lowest note in the chord, which is the root. For example, the name of the note at the 1st fret of the 6th string is F. So the power chord at the 1st fret is called F5. If you move the chord shape up to the 2nd fret, it becomes F sharp 5. Because the note at the 2nd fret of the 6th string is F sharp. You don't need to learn the name of every power chord on all the frets up and down the fingerboard right now, but here are a few more to help you get started. E5, F5, and F sharp 5 we've already covered. If you move up one more fret to the 3rd fret, this will be a G5 chord. Notice that the root here on the 6th string is the same root as the open G chord we learned back in lesson 2. This is why they're both G chords. Another common power chord is A5 at the 5th fret, which is a different way of playing the A5 power chord that we learned earlier. And one more is a C5 at the 8th fret. Here's a progression that includes most of the power chords we just learned. Watch the notation for the chords. We'll use all downstrokes again. And remember not to strum the top 4 strings. We'll start on C up here at the 8th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, C, A, G, F. Again. Using movable power chords lets you play a basic form of most chords from almost any song. So as long as you know where to find the root note, you'll be able to play any power chord. You can also play power chords with the root on the 5th string. Just as power chords on the 6th string are built from the E5 chord in the open position, 5th string power chords are built starting on an A5 in the open position. Move the shape up one fret and you get a B flat 5. Again, the chord is named B flat because the root is B flat. Move the shape to the 3rd fret and it's called C5. At the 5th fret, D5. And at the 7th fret, E5. As you play these chords, remember to pick just the A and D strings. Try not to hit the low E and the top 3 strings. Here's a progression based on 5th string power chords. It starts on a D power chord at the 5th fret for one measure, then down to a B flat power chord at the 1st fret for 2 beats, then up to a C power chord at the 3rd fret for 2 beats. Play it with me using all downstrokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, D. B flat, C. Again. Remember, only play the 5th and 4th strings when you're playing 5th string power chords. Palm muting is a strumming style where you lightly rest the side of your strumming hand across the strings, just in front of the bridge of the guitar. This deadens the sound of the strings and creates a chunky thudding sound when you use it with power chords like this. With your pick between your fingers, Lay the side of your strumming hand on the strings just in front of the bridge. Keep the side of your hand touching the strings and roll your hand into picking position. Now, when you strum the two strings of the power chord, they should sound muted and thuddy. It may take some time to find the best position, so be patient. Let's try palm mute strumming with an open E5 chord, all downstrokes. We'll start slow and gradually increase the tempo. A little faster. A little faster. You can also create accents when you palm mute by strumming the strings harder at certain times, like this. Let's play that together, starting slow, then speeding up. Hard, 2, 3, 4. Hard, 2, hard, 4. Hard, 2, 3, 4. Hard, 2, hard, 4. Parts of the song in this lesson use palm muting with the same downstroke rhythm we've been playing all along. When you feel comfortable with the power chords and strumming patterns we've been working on, you'll be ready to play along with the band in the Play Song section of this lesson. There are two parts to this song, the verse and the chorus. The verse uses a palm muted rhythm and starts with an A power chord at the 5th fret. Then to a C power chord at the 8th fret. Down to an F sharp at the 2nd fret, and F on the 1st fret. This progression repeats a few times. Then for the chorus, lift your palm up so the chords are more open sounding. Start with a C 5th string power chord at the 3rd fret. Up to the 6th fret for an E flat. Then stay at the same fret, but move to a 6th string power chord at the 6th fret, which is a B flat. Then finish by moving back up to a 5th string chord on the 8th fret for F. Don't forget, you can use the speed slider to practice the song at a slow tempo at first. When you can play all the chords and rhythms correctly, you can start increasing the tempo. Have fun!